This episode of CU Live is brought to you with support from Stoff's Coffee Roasters. Since 1988, Stoff's has been offering specialty coffee hand-roasted right here in Central Ohio. Stoff's is also a proponent of meaningful community conversations, whether online or in person. Visit their website at stoffs.com for the latest information on their locations, or to order online and enjoy a cup of Stoff's while you watch this episode.
Hello and welcome to CU Live. I'm Susan Post, Associate Editor of Columbus Underground. I have with me today Tim Lai Architect. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
I'm going to talk about a kind of fun topic today, interior design and interior design trends for 2021. Folks are obviously spending a lot more time at home and a lot less money on stuff like vacations. So I think you're seeing this crazy surge of home remodeling projects and renovations, and I definitely fall into that camp too. So how are you seeing folks spending more time at home sort of influence current design inspirations?
Well, I don't think the fact that we're spending more time necessarily change how we look at interior designs per se, but I think every time we talk about trends, trend is not something that it just happen one year and then just disappear, or it doesn't happen just out of nowhere. I think a lot of times when we think about trends, it's something that has already been happening for a while, but then it just become really something that everyone kind of think about or talk
critical
about.
Mass,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that there's, when you're spending more time at home, obviously, especially when you are dealing with work and things that might be, stressful. I think one of the things that is important before we kind of talk about anything is really think about what kind of space that makes you feel calm and peaceful, and how do you create a space that can create that environment, because I think the space that we spend time in, its character definitely have an impact on our well-being.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I think that's the first thing that that I would think about. So if you think about that, from a big picture standpoint, obviously, you can think about, okay, the space. If you are creating something from scratch, or you have a way to add addition or something like that, you can think about, okay, obviously, like how high the space is, as simple as that, or what kind of material palette, the color palette of the space that we can think about. Do you want something that is really bright color, or you want something that's more natural and more neutral and more muted even? I always like to recommend our clients to think about the space. Start simple, start with things that it's the basic first, so that you feel like you have the room to grow, you have the room to put things on the walls and things like that.
So you kind of mentioned this sort of clean and some bright colors. So what are some of the aesthetics that you really see folks leaning towards right now?
For some people, they don't necessarily need colors to feel like they to feel the space, because the color can appear in your furniture, in your cushion, in some of the small things.
I find it so hard to pick paint. Our bathroom is the weirdest color right now because of that.
Right. I remember when we first moved into our house, every single room is painted a different color.
Yeah.
And we just basically we paint the whole house with one color only. And obviously, we painted white, and then it's funny that some friends coming over and say, hey, that looks like a rental. But, they're just joking, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think, I'm obviously, personally, I don't really see, it's very hard to do that. You would need to really hire a really good designer to help you to pick color, to make sure, if you really want a lot of colors in your home, it's not easy to do. So I would say, when in doubt, just find something more neutral.
Yeah.
The bright color is good because it makes the space a little bit brighter. But then obviously, you can have some accent area that you want to highlight. Maybe there's a feature wall that you want to highlight that can be a darker colors, or with some shelving or woodwork.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about some trends now. And you mentioned trends are things that develop over time, but something that I've been seeing everywhere online this year is this phrase called cottagecore. Is that something that you've heard about, or seen people leaning towards at all?
What is it called again?
Cottagecore. This kind of
cottagecore?
Granny cottage cozy vintage thing going on,
I personally not really, to be honest. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some charms in mix and match, right? I
Yeah.
think that you're talking about, things that, people don't want just everything to be mid-century modern, right? So, you want to kind of throw in something that you feel like you can find it in your grandparents' house or in an
Yeah.
antique store that has a little bit of history to it, has a little bit of characters to it that kind of create that contrast and balance.
Yeah.
I think interior design a lot of times is really about that. It's really about when you're in a space, you create that what we call kind of point of difference. What it means is that in some area in your house or in your home, you want it to be very intimate. You want to be kind of cozy, but then you don't want everything to be cozy.
Yeah.
And then in some other places, you want to be more open
Okay.
and more generous, the space. So to create that contrast, in some space you want to be just really focused and dark, and some space you want to be really open and you have a lot of lights, you have a nice view out to the backyard or things like that.
Yeah, for sure. What are some other kind of interior design trends you see for 2021?
To be honest with you, like I see some of these design trends, I'm just shaking my head sometimes when I see
Yeah,
these.
not ready to jump on it
Yeah,
yet. Huh?
like I mean, I think.
Well, and it's trends. They're trends for a reason. 'Cause,
Right.
Things
Yeah.
come and go, obviously.
Right, exactly. I mean, we can talk about a lot
Well,
of
then-
these like brass fixture. Like a lot of our clients is obsessed about
Guilty
brass.
there. Yeah, we've got some brass going. Well,
yeah.
and kind of conversely, are there any sort of trends that you see are kind of on the outs where people just aren't gravitating towards as much?
One of the things that people talk about a lot is like let's say when you renovate a kitchen. So one of the most important things in the kitchen, or one of the biggest things in the kitchen, is your countertop material.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, if you think about countertop material, I think, I always never recommend our client to do a polished black granite.
Okay.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's one of my things that I just can't stand.
no.
Yeah. But I think what I would say is that if you use a dark material, you want it to be less glossy, less polished,
Okay.
and more
Yeah.
matte. Whereas if you use a lighter material, then you can be a little bit more polished.
Oh, great advice. I
So like
thought
for
about that.
example, when you do a marble top, for example, I think a polish would be nicer, even though some people like the kind of the home finish.
Yeah.
But I personally think that, a white surface, you can do that. You can do a polish. Whereas a dark color is the opposite.
Yeah. I've been watching too much HGTV during all this. So I'm like, tell me more. No. Great. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing some design
You're
insights.
very welcome.
And, good luck on your home renovation projects out there. So
Yes.
hope you enjoy.